Hey, what's up, everybody? Back to go through my model again today. Gonna go through NBA. Got it right here. What the predicted is, the spreads are leaning towards, and what the markets had it at so far. I will go through my analysis game by game after the recap on the next slide. Do have NHL after basketball, and then I'll have the college basketball at the very end. All right. Here's the recap from yesterday. The three early games, all blowouts. Model had smaller spreads, had the favorites in all of them except for it had Chicago. That was the only money line it picked wrong yesterday. But missed those first three spreads, missed the totals. Then had a couple games had some spreads in range, had some totals in range. So it was a decent day other than those three blowouts, but hopefully we'll do a little bit better today. Only 4 games though. All right, first game will be New Orleans going to Charlotte. This is an early game. I'm thinking about probably doing a player prop same game parlay for this. If you want me to, go ahead, leave a comment or something. That'll at least give me more motivation. I'll try to have it out if I do one, at least a few hours before the game, probably in like 2 hours from now. But model likes Charlotte 117 to 110. The market has the spread about the same right there at 7 to 8 points. It is under on the total side, 232, 236, somewhere in there. I believe the spread has increased and the total has decreased actually on this game. So uh, it's expecting Charlotte to win more, but less points to be scored in the game. But the model has been pretty strong on Charlotte. It started at 4, dropped down right to even, flipped on day 4 for some reason. Thought New Orleans was a little better. Charlotte was a little worse. Charlotte had a close game against Dallas that night, but I don't know why it brought it together that much, but it did correct itself the next day. Right back to 7 points. Been right there the last 3 days. The total has been pretty steady, 229. It did dip down to 225, has been 227, so about 4 point range for the whole week on that. So not too bad, but it has been on the underside all week. Like I said before, one of the hardest things with the Charlotte team is just maintaining their 3 pointers. So I could see this game easily going over. If they're not hitting like they can, or if New Orleans too, they lean pretty heavily on a couple guys. If they're not scoring like they should, if Charlotte's defense, which has been playing much better recently, um, steps up, then they could hold it a little lower. Um, I'm not a huge fan on either side of the total, not at that range, but for team ratings, it does have New Orleans is 114 on offensive, so that's pretty good. 112 on defensive, so middle of the pack. Charlotte's offense has increased to about 117, and defense has gone down to 110. So they're doing better on both sides of the ball right now. Brandon Miller's been a big part of that. He's been scoring a lot recently. Con Canuple obviously has been playing well all over. So they have a lot of players there that can score, that can move the ball. They've been rebounding well, a lot of energy. So I'm a big fan of Charlotte. I think that they will cover this spread, especially at home today. Although some of their home games have been a little shakier, but I think against New Orleans they should be able to cover 7 points. The way they've been playing, it's been much more. They've slowed the pace down and they've been making less mistakes. So it's been a lot cleaner basketball. New Orleans did win the only head-to-head. They won 116 to 112 at home back in early November. And New Orleans is 5-19 on the road, 4-6 in their last 10. They're 3-2 in their last 5. Charlotte is 10-13 at home, but they're 8-2 in their last 10, and they've won 6 straight games. The only player that I saw on the injury report for either side that hadn't been on there too long was Josh Green. He was probable. I know he's played at least in one game recently. He's been kind of in and out, but this game is definitely going to be, I think, Charlotte's threes against New Orleans 3 defense. New Orleans isn't great at guarding the 3, and Charlotte can shoot lights out. And if they start hitting them, this game can get away real quick. We might have another early blowout like we did yesterday. So that's what I'm thinking on this game. Is I would take Charlotte on the spread. If you want to, like I normally say, take it down a couple points, make it a little safer. But I think they should cover that complete spread today. All right, next is Houston going to Indiana. The model does like Indiana by 1. I would pick Houston probably on the spread here. I'm surprised the Houston spread is only at 5.5, only with or even with KD being out. Seems pretty low to me. The last time they played, Şengün didn't play, and Houston won 126 to 119 at home. That was on December 29th. And Houston does play better at home. So the fact that it was only 7 points, then Indiana has been playing better. It makes a little bit of sense, but man, just watching Houston and watching Indiana, although I haven't watched them recently, I got to admit, it's hard for me to see Indiana winning this game or keeping it within 5 or 6. So that's kind of where I'm at. It started out on the model at 4, went to 5, down to 2, up to 3, stayed at 3, 2, and then now 1. So the model is really uncertain on this game. It was expecting Houston to win, was unsure of the margin, and for some reason today it flipped. Total has been a lot more steady. 229, 232. It did go down to 225, and then back to 229. So it has been steadily above on the total. Like I said, KD not playing will impact the Houston offense, obviously, but they have enough playmakers that I don't think it'll affect them that much. So I think I would lean over, and I would lean Houston on the spread on this game. Indiana's 10-16 at home, 5-5 in their last 10, 3-2 in their last 5. Houston's not much better on the road. They're 13-13 on the road, but they're 7-3 in their last 10 games, 4-1 in their last 5. So they've been really hot. Indiana's been getting hotter. I just don't see them beating Houston even without, unless someone else sits for Houston that I didn't see. I mean, if Thompson is out, or Şengün is out, or even Jabari is out, then I would lean a little more into Indiana, at least to cover the spread. But I'm on the Houston side here. Houston's been the better team all year, and they have way too many players that can play every single part of the game and play it well. 3-pointers, assists, rebounds, points. So I'm going Houston. Indiana could surprise me. All right, next game will be Minnesota going to Memphis. They just played last game. Minnesota won that one in Memphis, 131 to 114. Game still in Memphis. Memphis won in Minnesota back in mid-December on the 17th. They won 116 to 110. So they had a 6-point win. Minnesota won by 17. Minnesota definitely looked a lot better in the last game. Injuries are going to be key in this game. We have Edwards and Randall is questionable last I saw, and Jaren Jackson Jr. was questionable, and Aldama was out. So unless those get updated and changed, Aldama will not be playing, and don't know on the other 3. Minnesota's 14-11 on the road, 5-5 in their last 10. They're 4-5 in their last 1, or in their 4-1 in their last 5. They've been doing really well recently. They struggled a little bit before that though. Lost some games that they probably shouldn't have. Memphis is 9-15 at home, 2-8 in their last 10, and they've lost 6 straight games. So Memphis is not doing very well. The model, for some reason, with Minnesota's struggles, still kept them close. But as you can see, the last couple of days, it has been at 9 points each day. Went up 2 points the day before that from 0 to 2. So it's been pretty steady on Minnesota. It got a little confused early week, but the totals have been extremely consistent. 233 up to 237. So within 4 points every single day. And the total from Vegas is 228 to 230. And the spread is about 8. So the model likes Minnesota to cover the spread. It likes them 122 to 113, so 9 points. And it likes 235. So it is on the overside. The issue here is there's a lot of scorers. There's a lot of points that are on that questionable list right now. So I would not touch the total. Even that spread's pretty large to have both Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards both questionable tonight. Obviously, Jaren Jackson doesn't go. Huge hit for Memphis. He's going to be their key piece, but with Morant out already, Edey's already out, Aldama out. So they're down a lot of people. I think Minnesota should cover this if all of them sit. If if Triple J plays, Jaren Jackson Jr. plays, and the other two for Minnesota sit, Randall and Edwards, Memphis might keep it close. Other than that, I think Minnesota should cover. The totals where I would stay away from until you have an actual injury report that is complete, because Edwards and Randall are just way too many points for that Minnesota team. I expect if they are out, this will hit under pretty easily. But my favorite pick would probably be just Minnesota on the spread. Maybe you want to take it down a couple points if you're uncertain and want to play it earlier, just on those injuries. All right, the last NBA game will be Philly going to LA to play the Clippers tonight. It likes a close game. It started with the Clippers pretty strong early in the week, and then it flipped to Philly here towards the end. Philly has won 3 in a row. Um, they've had a couple bigger wins in points, but the strength of the schedule is not there. They've beat the Pelicans, they've beat the Kings, and they've beat the Bucks. So a lot of that pulling back, I would not necessarily agree with. In the same time, the Clippers just beat the Suns pretty easily last night in Phoenix, and they had the loss to the Nuggets. That's part of what pulled this back, was the big loss to the Nuggets by 13 points. But they beat the Jazz, beat the Nets before, so some of their strength wasn't as well. But the fact that they handled the Suns as well as they did last night, and Philly will not be without Paul George for quite a while. Embiid was probable. I think he was the only one that I saw on the injury list for this game that hadn't been on there. So Philly won the only head-to-head so far, 110-108 in Philly in mid-November on the 17th. Philly's 2-8 on the road, 5-5 in their last 10, and 3-2 in their last 5. They won 3 straight, but like I said, Pelicans, Kings, Bucks, not a lot of strength in those games right now. Pelicans was probably the best win that they had. The Kings played them close. The Kings only lost by 2 points, and the Kings have lost 9 straight now, something like that. So I don't have a lot of faith in Philly, especially without everybody playing. Embiid has been playing really well. Maxey, Edgecombe, Kelly Oubre has been playing well. So they have pieces that can pick it up. They just haven't shown that they can do it consistently. So I would lean the Clippers on this one, unless there's some injury info that I didn't see. At 3 points, I think that they can cover the spread. For the total, it's at 221. Clippers are on the second day of a back-to-back. Philly isn't as streaky of a team as Phoenix, so I don't think they'll hold them under 100. I do think Philly will score, especially if Embiid goes. If for some reason he flips to out from probable, then definitely Clippers on this and probably the under, because Philly hasn't shown they can do much without both of the stars in there. And I mean Paul George and Embiid, not including Maxey there. But I mean the model likes Philly, and it fell from a 9-point Clippers favorite all the way down steadily to Philly. But that Paul George injury and then just the strength of the schedule, I think it factored a little too much in that Nuggets loss being 13 points. Not the fact that Joker came back and had a fantastic game. But Clippers are back at home now. They've been playing better at home. So I'm Clippers spread. Like I said, I would probably lean the over, but I leaned the over yesterday, and they kept it way under. And that was only 210. So this is an extra 10 points. So under could definitely be live. I would be way more favorite on the spread of this game. All right, so here's what the NHL model has for today. Just talk a little bit about yesterday. Like I said, with those outdoor games, they get crazy. And the over was probably the better way to go just because of that. Tampa was down 5-1, came back, tied it up, won in a shootout, got a goalie fight. A lot of excitement there. So that was a fun game. But here has Vancouver going to Utah as the favorite pick, Utah winning. It started out as a push early in the week, grew very favorably towards Utah at a goal. I do agree with that. Utah has been the better team. They've lost a couple. Recently, they lost their last 2. But Vancouver's been terrible for a month or two. So I'm definitely on the Utah side. I would disagree on that second pick, though. I like Buffalo. I think Florida is slightly favored in this game. So I think I would probably take Buffalo at the plus 1.5 on that game if I was going to play it. I haven't been particularly following hockey too much. To be completely honest with you guys, I've run the models. I do pay attention to who wins and everything, but I've got a lot going on, and I've been trying to stay mostly on the NBA so I can get more detail into some of those. Model does have Colorado over Detroit. Colorado just whooped Detroit the other day. I don't remember if it was 5-0, 5-1 maybe. But Colorado beat them really bad. Colorado's been struggling a lot before that, but now they're back at home. They played in Detroit last game, so I don't see Colorado losing. I wouldn't expect it to be as much of a blowout, but Colorado's a really, really good team, and they had a couple bad weeks, but they seem like they're playing a little bit better again. So I do agree with that one probably. Washington and the Islanders, I do like Washington, but I don't think they've been consistent enough to be a high pick. And then a lot of these games, to be honest, I could see them going about either way. The low pick at the bottom, Dallas is the better team when healthy. They've been playing a little better recently, but when Jamie Benn went out with the injury, they just started struggling. So I would like Dallas in that game, but they haven't shown enough recently. They're favorite. They're at home, so seems like a good pick. Minus 166 on it. The model does have Winnipeg, but if you look, it started at Winnipeg and it went towards Dallas. So Dallas's recent streak is showing up a little bit. So we'll look at the college real quick. All right, so here's the college basketball. Got the 4 high confidence picks and medium confidence picks with 1 low. As I've said before, if you haven't watched, the confidence is just on a day-to-day basis. 100 on one confidence on one day does not mean 100 on the next. Just means it's the favorite for that day. It's just a way to rank to try to figure out which games you might want to take. The reason there's 3 blank days there at the beginning is because I've had a crash the last 2 nights. I think I got it figured out, but it takes a while to run, so I'll figure that out again tonight. So these predictions are 2 days old. There are 4 consistent days, but there has not been a run the last 2 nights. So it has been consistent on North Carolina. Like I've said, I like the bigger conference matchups better. I think it gets a better read on the actual teams. Not to say it doesn't hit the lower conference ones, but there's a lot bigger gap in competition. It seems that it has an issue trying to pick up on. So a lot of these are going to be the smaller conferences: Tennessee State, UT Rio Grande, Texas Corpus Christi, Howard. So go through, look at the size of the spreads. Like North Carolina Central started at 7, it went up to 9. That's a good sign that it's going upward. UT Rio Grande, it only went up 2 on the first day, but it stayed consistent at 12 after that. That's a good sign. Texas A&M Corpus Christi actually dropped 1, but it stayed pretty consistent along the same lines. That's why it's the higher confidence. So we'll go to the next page, last one. All right, and on this page, the only ones that are really major conferences will be the Texas Tech Kansas game. So has Texas Tech favored to win. Had them favored a little stronger earlier in the week. Texas Tech ended up losing their last game, so it brought them down a little bit, but still pretty favored, about that 6 to 8 range. I'm not sure what the actual spread is. But then if you look at the bottom one, started on Jacksonville, went to Southern, so that's why it is a low confidence. The other one went from 2 down to 1, back to 2, so it's fluctuating up and down. But a lot of these games actually seem pretty consistent. I'm not seeing any multi-point drops, gains, anything like that really. So it seems like it's relatively confident on quite a few of these games. I think a lot of the issues today are going to be just those conferences that these teams play in. I haven't had much luck on them this season. Hopefully you guys can today. So definitely dig in, do a little more research. Like I said, it is missing the past 2 days on predictions. So I wouldn't expect a whole lot to change in those days. It doesn't normally, not this late in the season. There's been plenty of games played for every team and just in total. So It has a pretty good read for what it likes right now. Over the course of a week, it can change, but not typically in 2 days. So do your research. Let me know if there's any questions or anything, and I'm gonna see if I can get that player prop parlay done. So have a good day. Good luck.